Okay, so there are lots of, poor can be a very broad definition. Middle class is completely a notion of this century. Economic class is on a continuum, but we've done this really strange thing in our society where we've decided we'll draw a line and say this is the poverty line. And $1 below is poor and $1 above is middle class. And so that is to me that's just kind of a funny thing because it doesn't feel that different with that extra dollar. And a number of times there's this really weird black hole in the middle of the continuum that if you cross over the poverty line, you now lose your Medicaid, a lot of the benefits that you needed that were helping you to get by, so you're actually punished by switching into middle class. So I'm going to give a word, generational and situational poverty. Generational is one after another. Let's say 2 to 3 generations in a row receiving public assistance would be considered generational poverty. Situational poverty is something happened that threw you into poverty, many times temporarily. A divorce, a loss of a breadwinner, your house fire, it could be those, a number of, an incident happened. And that is another interesting situation because then the middle class person, when that happens, is in a whole new land, living with people who think differently and act differently and value different things. So it's really important to be able to be bilingual, and if you can't be bilingual, you need a friend who is bilingual that can teach you the languages of both classes. So I want to give a word really quickly about stereotyping and exceptions. I've done this in a 2-day workshop in 16 hours, and we're doing it today in an hour and a half. And so I'm cramming a lot in, and I apologize up front if it sounds like I'm stereotyping and making generalizations, because there's always the exceptions. And I'm speaking not only from a little bit of the research, but also from my own personal experience. So I like to kind of give that as a preface. Okay, so hidden rules of class are unspoken cues that happen when a newcomer comes in and it's something new and different. When you have someone over to your house for dinner, or when you've gone to someone else's house for dinner, either way, if they come in or if you've gone there and you sit down for dinner, what are some of the expectations that you have if someone says, come over for dinner? If I invite you all to my house for dinner tonight, what would you expect? Bring wine. Bring wine? I would cook. That's funny. Okay, others? The table would be set. You would ask if you could bring something. Okay. Okay, good. You'd all be really shocked. And because even though I've learned the language and I can operate in both worlds, there are parts of me that are just really comfortable with the poverty piece. So in reality, I would, if we said, how about 6 o'clock, I might be pulling into the driveway at 6 o'clock. I would probably have called the pizza place down the street that has my number on caller ID and knows probably what I'm going to order. When we get in, you'd sit wherever you wanted to sit. I hope there are clean dishes, but if not, you might need to wash one off. We might have paper plates. If we don't, we will tear the box that the pizza came into sections and use those as a plate. I'm hoping there might be napkins, but if not, we'll use paper towels. If not, we'll use toilet paper. Okay? When you're done eating, I would expect us all to just sit around and talk and tell stories, maybe play games. So it would be, for you to get up and go clean would feel insulting to me. So that piece of me is still very, very poverty. I give an example of my husband when we've been together 5 years, and he comes from a very middle-class family, and we were together for our first Thanksgiving dinner, and we were scraping the plates, and he was going to put them in the garbage disposal, which doesn't exist in my house, so I went to flush it down the toilet. And he just was like astounded at that. And I said, well, really, what's the difference? I mean, it goes away down a hole into the, you know, big pot underground. But he just found that to be a really mind-blowing thing. That's something that he would never thought of doing. When I went to put oil in my car, he said, do you have a funnel? And I looked at him and thought, a funnel? No, but I have a paper plate, and we just roll that up, and it makes a funnel. And so it's been an interesting ride for us, because we have just a lot of things that I think are normal. He looks at it and thinks, you know, this is really, really foreign. So we're kind of starting to appreciate each other's cultures. So the newcomer coming in, if someone doesn't tell you ahead of time, and I loved a lot of the examples that you gave, because when I was married, my first husband, his mom, was an assistant to a senator in Iowa. And my very first time ever meeting her, I had lunch with her at the Capitol building. And I did not know what all the forks were, and why are there so many glasses and spoons. And when we would eat at her house, I had no idea that I was supposed to say, can I bring something? And can I help you clean up? Which could have been perceived as really rude or, you know, pretty rough around the edges. It was incredibly intimidating to me that the placemats and the napkins, the cloth napkins all matched, that the plates all matched, and the silverware. That was something that I was not at all accustomed to, and it seemed to me that they were really rich. Whereas in reality, you know, they were doing well, but by no means were they the Rockefellers. And my mother-in-law actually was a person who really taught me lots of the kind of charm school types of things that I did not get growing up. Okay, so why does poverty exist? Because we've had a war on poverty, and I think we lost. There's lots of policies. There's all kinds of policies. Let's do welfare. Let's do welfare to work. But the problem is that it's not just money, that there are so many soft skills and interpersonal skills that go along with it, that what we as a society have done have really neglected that. Because we assume, oh, we'll give them money and they'll budget and then this will happen, and they'll tell their family, no, you can't borrow money because I have to keep a savings account with a minimum balance in it. Because in our world, I still to this day, I don't have a savings account. When I have money in my bank account, I have guilt that I should be giving it away. That there are people that need it more than me, and I should be, you know, if I have an extra TV, I'm looking for someone that needs that. My friend calls me Miss Give It Away. The reason that it's really important, though, that we start looking at that micro level, that the relationship of coaching and mentoring people, is because all of the systems in our society are based on middle-class values. There's an expectation that people will be prompt, that people will fill out this paperwork to lead to this paperwork to lead to this paperwork. So our schools, our justice, our medical systems are based on an expectation that people are going to do things in a linear, orderly fashion. And so we need to help people learn those rules.